This is the Lockpicking Lawyer, and what I have for you today is a trigger lock sold by a company called The Club. Now, many of you may have heard that name before because The Club became very famous by selling steering wheel locks. And apparently they wanted to transform their success in that market into success with other security products. So we soon started seeing things like this Club branded padlock and this Club trigger lock. However, when they made this transformation, it appeared that originality really was not a big concern of the company because this padlock appears to be a direct copy of the American Lock Series 1100, and this trigger lock appears to be a copy of the Master Lock Model 90 DSPT. Now, if you're interested in learning more about this Master Lock, I featured it in video number 444 recently, so you can check it out over in that video. However, there are some significant differences between the Master Lock and this Club product that do affect security, and I'll show you those as we go through this video. Now, this Club designed product should be very, very familiar to anyone who knows about trigger locks. What we have is two halves that are designed to go on either on either side of the trigger guard, and they can be separated only by turning the key. The distance between the two halves can be adjusted, and that is facilitated by these small notches that are machined into the rotating pole in the middle of this lock. They fit into the machined grooves on the spring-loaded plate on the other half, and when you put them together, it creates a ratcheting mechanism that allows you to adjust this distance. To install this, what we do is take the half with the pole and put it through the trigger lock. I should actually note right here, in my video on the Master Lock, I received a lot of comments saying that I installed the lock wrong. I should have put this post behind the trigger so it couldn't be pulled. Now, I'll put aside for just a moment the fact that it was physically impossible to do so on the gun that I demonstrated that lock on. However, it's usually not going to be possible even if there is physically room behind the trigger to put the gun lock, and I'll show you why that is. If we were to put this behind the trigger, you can see that's probably a pretty good thing because it does not allow the trigger to be pulled. However, it also doesn't allow much of that post to come through from the other side, and certainly not enough for the other half of this to engage the post and these little ratcheting notches. So, even though it would be ideal if we could put the post behind the trigger where it would physically prevent the gun from being able to be fired, on most guns that's not going to be an option. What we're going to have to do is put it in front of the trigger like this. So let's put that behind the trigger and then get the other half. Let's see, that should go something like this. And I think we've got this in place. Okay, I've got that on there pretty tight. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of movement in there. I guess we could probably really wrench it down and we might be able to get access to the trigger with a small piece of metal or something like that, which is obviously a concern whenever you're dealing with a trigger lock. However, one main difference between this Club product and the Master Lock is that the Master Lock uses a pin tumbler design, and this one uses a wafer lock, and I believe it is a 4-wafer lock. Now, normally with wafer locks, the first thing I try to do is just zip the core, and we're usually able to open them up pretty easily that way. However, because of that ratcheting mechanism and the fact that there is a lot of tension on this core that's put by pressing these two halves together, zipping probably isn't going to work on this lock. But what we can do is try to rake it open, and that's what we'll do right now. Put some tension in this lock, and then get my Sparrow City rake, put it in there, and probably just a couple of wiggles. And as you can see, we open that up really fast. So this Club trigger lock is frankly a joke as far as opening by a skilled lockpicker, and even a novice is going to be able to open it up pretty quickly. The first thing that lockpickers often learn to do is to rake, And as you can see, I used one of the most common rakes out there, a city rake, and it only took a couple of wiggles before this lock popped right open. So certainly, this club trigger lock is not something that I would use to guard any of my firearms. So that's all I have for you today on this club trigger lock. If you do have any questions or comments about it, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, have a nice day. Thank you.